and I'm the Executive Director of Human Rights Monitoring in Kaduna.
Mohammed and Executive Director of EIU Nigeria.
Executive Director, Ministry of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law, Port Harcourt, and Chair and Director of Civil Society Coalition.
Good morning, Mr. Minister. My name is David Obinna Anyele. I'm the Executive Director, Center for Citizens with Disabilities. Thank you.
My name is Ugo Efana. I am Governance Programs Manager with ActionAid Nigeria.
I am Judo Hanele, the Program Director of Development Dynamics, Owerri State. I'm also an astrocardiographer.
My name is James Ojuku from African Center for Entrepreneurship and Information Development.
My name is Mohammed. I'm the Executive Director of the Democratic Action Group and NGO based in Kano, and the Secretary General of Civil Society Forum.
My name is Paul Castle. I am the Executive Director of the Leaders of Provisional Trade Initiative, Kaduna.
My name is Letu Saloke. I'm the Program Manager of Justice Development and Peace Commission, the Development Wing of the Legacy Bishop Conference of Nigeria.
Udo Jude Ilo, Open Society Initiative for West Africa.
My name is Esmawawu. I chair the Partners for Electoral Reform, and I'm the co-convener of the Say No campaign Nigeria.
My name is Odo Namde Nigeria from A Foundation. I'm Toby Ayota. I'm the Program Director of Habitat Care Protection Initiative, Owerri, Imo State.
Toby Namde is my name. I'm the Program Director of Citizen Center for Integrated Development and Social Rights, Owerri.
I'm a child divine from Citizens Advocacy for Good Governance in Enugu.
My name is Olabisha Ibikolisamo, Election Monitors and Prayer.
Emerald Johnson from Center for Citizens with Disabilities. Yes.
My name is Dujuma Mamaduka. I'm from Responsible Citizenship and Human Development Initiative, Bombay.
My name is Tuji Ladna, and I'm with Landlet.
My name is Dole Chani. I represent Women's Rights Education Program.
My name is College Dike from Community Life Project.
My name is Agambe Asha. I work with Black. My name is Lara Kiye. I work with Black as well.
My name is Nkiru Zoli. I work with Black.
My name is I work with Nigeria Women Trust Fund.
My name is Antonio Bo, Programs Coordinator for the Nigeria Women Trust Fund.
I'm Fuke Baruba, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigeria Women Trust Fund.
My name is Kelechi Wambo. I represent Constitutional Rights Project.
My name is Samuel Joshua Bami, the Executive Director of Rural Youth Initiative, Jenny State.
Hello, I work with PLAC.
Very much at home, hosting you today, because unknown to many people, I was the first Vice Chairman of the Constitutional Rights Project. Claire, is that correct? And myself and Claire were foundation members and executives of the CLO. Therefore, have not really wandered too far from the society group by going to politics. I think it is society's dentist we wanted to achieve through the civil society organizations that are going to pursue in politics. Therefore, I feel completely at home and at ease with you, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this ministry. I don't know, I might be the first civil society member to be in it. I'm not sure about it, but it's not impossible. At least it shows that you have in cabinet somebody who was one of you and who still believes very much in what you stand for. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I thank you for honoring my invitation this meeting. Let me use this opportunity to thank you all for the role you played before, during, and after the last elections. It will not be an exaggeration to say that civil society, especially those who follow situation rules, contributed hugely to the success of the last elections. May I also assure you all that this administration will carry the civil society along in its efforts to change for the better. That is why we have started our engagement with you this early. Therefore, it should be only the first in a series of engagement with civil society. We see you as people, and we see you as patriots who are genuinely interested in the welfare of people. Why is it important to engage with civil society? The civil society is an important agent for promoting good governance, transparency, accountability, and responsiveness. According to experts, they do this by policy analysis and advocacy, by regulation and monitoring of state performance, and the action and behavior of public officials. They do this by building social capital and enabling citizens to identify and articulate their values, beliefs, civic norms, and democratic practices. They do this also by mobilizing particular consequences, especially the vulnerable and marginalized sections of society, to participate more fully in politics and public affairs. And finally, by development work to improve the well-being of their own and other communities. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also use this occasion to announce to all Nigerians that better times are just around the corner. Nigerians project for change, and change will get. This government will not need excuses. The painstaking and methodical approach by the administration is deep analysis and understanding of challenges, and without the inauguration of the cabinet will arrive in new job. In the next few days, the administration will start firing from all cylinders, starting with the 2016 budget. Nigerians will witness measurable and impactful progress in all spheres of governance. We shall not abandon our social intervention policies, such as 1 million day for school children and the payment of 5,000 naira each to vulnerable Nigerians. We are committed to lifting millions of Nigerians out of poverty. The resolution is also progressing steadily and surely in the fight against terrorism and corruption. The current chief of the government is burning the midnight oil to ensure that unemployment is stable, that there will be massive infrastructure development, and the country's lost glory will be restored. We are aware that the question on the lips of many Nigerians is that with the drastic fall in oil revenues, where will the government get the funds to implement these policies? The answer is simple: diversification of the economy, blocking of benefits, as well as exploiting and widening our tax base without raising taxes. Talking about taxes, there's no doubt that Nigeria can do better than it is doing now. A comparative analysis between Nigeria and South Africa will drive the point home. In 2013, with a population of 160 million and a GDP of 510 billion, Nigeria collected 30 billion in taxes. Whereas South Africa, with a population of 54 million and a GDP of 366 billion, collected $74 billion in taxes. In 2014, Nigeria, with a population now of 170 million and a GDP of $535 billion, collected only $26 billion in taxes. Whereas South Africa, with a GDP of $350 billion and the same population of 54 billion people, bringing $70 billion in tax. From the figures above, it is obvious that if only we can widen our tax base, we will not need to raise taxes to increase our tax revenue. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep the globalization goal. As I said earlier, this will be the first in a series of interactions between the government and the civil society. We sustain the engagement in the interest of the people of Nigeria, whose welfare and security are the resultant of any government. I thank you for listening.
the time of the Honorable Minister of his members. Statement.
Prepared presentation from the situation room. I am happy to share a copy of that, but also to speak in line with the Minister's presentation. Like I said, Minister, we do have in this room leaders of civil society from across the country who have come here independently and with their own resources and situational resources to be at this meeting to meet with you. These are some of the finest, most independent Nigerian civil society groups that have felt compelled to intervene on different national issues across the country. Minister, you make the point not being the first civil society member to be in cabinet. The answer is no. We do have a lot of ministers who came from civil society, and even in this ministry, we had Hmic, who was part of civil society. At the end of his tenure, our minister, we had abuse of Hmic, which was that he never represented civil society being here. And the reason we can say this, and the reason we can say this that we feel is the truth and serve this country is because we love this country passionately. We make the point quite appropriately that even when we didn't anticipate to be in politics, you were part of civil society. You were one of the first trustees of the CRB, and like you rightly pointed out, vice chairman of our board. You attended the briefings when it was difficult to get politicians during the campaigns to come to engage in civil society. You attended the briefings or the sessions that one of our member groups, the CDD Center for Democracy and Development, organized. And you left very good impressions in the mind of civil society. So we really feel that you are a part of us. Civil society intervened in the last election because we wanted to see good progress in the development of our democracy. We all were of the view that this country needed to come away from the decay that we sank into under the previous administration. That we would hold this administration to account the same way that we held the last administration to account. So even though you are our friend, Honorable Minister, we would be compelled to say the truth as we see it, because that is what is important for this country. And I'll just read quickly what I have here. With more than 6 months gone in the administration of President Mohammed, the Nigerian social situation urges the government to tackle growing national issues with the urgency that it deserves. And Honorable Minister, the sense in which Nigerians feel that this government does not understand the urgency of our critical situation. We believe it is important that this government understands that there are urgent national issues that it needs to tackle with the urgency that it indicates. Expectations are very high amongst Nigerians for the changes promised by President Buhari during the campaigns. We need to deliver campaign policies against the background of complete lack of public trust in government and its institutions. Levels of impunity rose in the last administration, and the institutions of government were completely abused. It will require a record for public trust to be revealed and for the abused institutions to acquire their pride of place. The Nigerian social situation will observe the 2015 general elections, and this follows from the observation of the 2011 elections. Our view is that it is important that the government works for citizens in an effective, overactive manner. The situation will cause the government of President Buhari to take the following reform measures urgently. Rising unemployment. The unemployment situation like that is a major concern to the situation of millions of unemployed and underemployed citizens existing with very little hope of finding jobs under present economic conditions. The economy. The situation is concerned about the absence of a well-articulated economic direction for the country more than 6 months after the government's inauguration. The current economic direction by the Central Bank of Nigeria has led to the stagnation of businesses and economic activities. The failure of the government to articulate and begin implementation of economic policies needed to lift Nigeria out of its present economic doldrums is worrying. The situation requires the government to take urgent steps on the economic front, addressing the issues of infrastructure rebuilding, informed and proper exchange rate management, and power sector reform. And I'm happy that, Honourable Minister, you mentioned that in the next few days, this government is going to come out steaming and firing from all cylinders. And you mentioned the issue of more effective tax collection. I think it's important that this administration understands that more effective tax collection also means that citizens will feel a greater stake and ownership of government and its actions. The more taxes we pay, the more angry we will get if we don't get the delivery of all the taxes that we pay. So I think that it's not just about the government deciding to become more effective and efficient in tax collection. This government must also decide that coming with it is the responsibility to be more accountable to the Nigerian people and to be prepared for the reaction of the Nigerian people should it fail to deliver on what their tax money deserves. Electoral reform. Although the 2015 general elections were just credible, observers noted lapses which call for further reform of the electoral system. With the position of chairman and at least 6 national commissions now filled in the independent National Electoral Commission, situation calls on the Nigerian government to fill the remaining vacancies into national commissioner positions. And I should add as well resident electoral commission positions, although we do have a particularly different view on the position of reps. Electoral reforms must address the challenges of voters registration, voting, collation, and announcement of results. In addition, there must be constitutional reform to bring resident electoral commissioners, REC, within the administrative control and direction of Hmic national headquarters. A system where RECs operate at large without accountability needs to be stopped. It should be noted that the Constitutional Amendment of 2010 took away sole powers of appointing RECs from the President and now includes a confirmation from the Senate. It will appear, however, that these amendments of the Constitution may need to be revisited. The position of RECs may need to be scrapped and Hmic empowered to appoint state directors of elections who will be subject to the direction and control of Hmic itself. There's also an important need to do a thorough review of the Electoral Act and bring it into conformity with modern day development and enhance internal democracy within parties. Section 31 and 37 of the Electoral Act specifically to amended so that candidates for elections can emerge through a transparent and democratic process. Section 31 and Section 87, not 37. The electoral laws must also be informed to allow for greater use of technology in the conduct of elections and to ensure transparency. In order to ensure electoral accountability, prosecution for electoral offences must be taken seriously and enforced by relevant agencies. There was a recent decision by the Court of Appeal that annulled the senator's election, and that election specifically, the Court of Appeal specifically identified the Commission of Electoral that was also announced even while voting was going on. This is clearly an electoral offense, and we believe that it's not just sufficient that the law only allows for a course for another election. It should also be that those who commit an electoral offense should be prosecuted and as well barred from participating in future elections for a given time. Constitutional reform. Government will need to settle your end plan for constitutional reform. Any reform of the Constitution will need to include the following: federal structure of Nigeria to address the political and structural imbalance in the country, citizenship defined or redefined and protected by the Constitution. Every Nigerian must be the ultimate beneficiary of the contents and provisions of the Constitution guaranteeing social and economic rights, which we believe should be made fundamental in the Constitution. The country also needs to end the era of impunity and immunity, such that elected or executive even while holding office, should be prosecuted, as happens in countries where accountability takes pride of place. Additionally, the new administration should produce a consolidated document of the Nigerian Constitution, encompassing all of the amendments in one constitution. Lawyers and judges and Nigerians who are interested in understanding the status of the Constitution have to read through several different documents to find out what is the correct one. Governance reform. Nigeria is in dire need of reforms of its government process, and a lot needs to be done to reduce the cost of governance. And listed here on the minister, the position of the situation was that there should be a reduction in the cost of running the presidency, or in the implementation of the on-site report, compulsory declaration of assets of public officials, as well as their verification and communication, enforcement of the Freedom of Information Act. There's also the need to end privatization of government security responsibilities, and this, I believe, is an ongoing conversation. Given the high expectations that Nigerians have of this administration, this government will need to take budget and budget steps and big wins are needed to be immediately implemented. And some suggestions of the big win actions include as follows: transparency and openness of loot recovered from officials of the immediate past regime. Another case that the issue here is that every day we hear of billions of naira being recovered from officials of the immediate past regime of President Jonathan. President Mohammed himself has said publicly that some ministers or former officials have been returning stolen funds. This is not sufficient. We need to know who has returned stolen funds. We need to see this published. We need to know to what use it will be put to. Under the regime of President Obasanjo, there were reports of millions of naira being recovered from officials of the General Abacha regime. Lots and lots, billions and billions of this money that were supposedly recovered were not put into any use that any Nigerian can point to. There should be a monument that says we recovered X amount of money and this is what it achieved. Rather than, as most Nigerians suspect happened under the previous regime, that looted funds that were recovered were relooted, which is a major concern for us. So we need to see these monies, we need to see where they are put into, we need to be told how much they are, we need to be told who it was recovered from, and based on that, we need to see what use it should be put to. Otherwise, we fear that there is a possibility of history repeating itself. We also look at the openness of the national budget. It is important that the government is talking about a zero budget-based system, and some reforms may already have been introduced. Our suggestions that these reforms are not cast in stone, and that they are implemented in order to achieve reforms that are necessary to take us forward. It is important as well, and I must comment on the minister, the sense in which one gets that the president himself is one that is not inclined towards ostentatious giving and aggrandizement in the form of the way that we see how he carries on. But we also want to see that this extends beyond the president and covers as much as possible a wide range. We encourage probe. We encourage plea bargaining, that this must involve a conviction and return of loot, and the recovered loot must be committed to a special fund for infrastructure development. And we have said already that we would like to know how much and what the specific infrastructure development is. Another is that there is a special issue, not just of ministers recovering or returning loot, or not just in the oil sector, because that tends to be where most of the stories of recovered loot are coming from. We talked about here a probe of the FCA man swap issues. And beyond that, Honorable Minister, the administration of man in Abuja was subject to what abuses country has not seen, including areas that are devoted to green areas that have been converted and sold by the immediate past minister of the FCT, who think that this government must urgently review what happened in FCT in the immediate past administration in order to restore huge activities that happen. There are several other issues on problems we think that the government needs to deal with. This honorable minister, council, colleagues, the situation whose presentation to you on this occasion. Thank you so much. I'm afraid I think this is comfortable with this people. Comfortable in the sense that clearly we are parting from the same side of the beach. This administration is on all costs with the issues raised in this paper in the area of a focused direction, in the area of electoral reforms, in the area of transparency, in the area of governance reform. And I promise that I will very faithfully convey this message at the next Fed meeting, and whenever I have private audience with the president, especially the vice president who will meet very often. I think I would also reiterate some of these raised there. But frankly speaking, I'm not at all frightened by this position, because it is the position that the association has consciously taken. And we know that the expectation is very high. Not just expectation of what you want to do for the people. But people are also wanting what we are also doing, what we comport ourselves. And I think this is what we draw to our colleagues every day. That Nigerians want leadership by example. We are confident that Mr. President has shown very good examples, and it makes it easier for many of us to follow. But before then, I want to really express my appreciation, because when I listen to the introduction, many people coming from Lagos, many people coming from Gobi, some from Lagos. I think this is also proof of the kind of intense patriotism we share for this country. And like I said, irrespective of what might be your reaction to certain policy of government, will continue to engage you, because we believe that you learn more from people who don't agree with you than those who agree with you. And even I believe that the majority of you here are driven simply by patriotism and love for country, that the platform of achieving views can only benefit the country. Thank you very much. And let's take more questions or comments and observations from the members who are here. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mohammed, and a member of the situation. I think it's important that we all realize that this is a national issue in front of us, that we're acting on the same team, as you put it. Having said that, I think it's also important that we are very clear about the false dichotomy between us and government. There's always been a traditional war between what people represent and their interests and what people terrorists. And I think this is a good opportunity in the capacity of the Honorable Minister, first as a member of the civil society group, so you understand the mindset. But more importantly, the way in articulating this change. A lot of people voted for change. The change itself is indeterminate because it has not been clearly articulated by your administration. In the last 6 months, we resorted to the esoterica of body language, trying to pass what the president is thinking, reading the tea leaves. And all of this is being in absence of a clear court platform of principles. We do not have, at least in my estimation, a a clear reform policy agenda. We have so many problems in Nigeria. They can be neatly categorized, right? But that has to come from the supply side. The government has to articulate clearly what its reform agenda is. As a matter of fact, if we keep hammering on the fact that we are a government of change, it denies us the opportunity to actually frame what this change is about within the context of reforms. That is an easier policy sell than this, esoteric notion of change. The government has to clearly aggregate the sum total of Nigeria's problems, tell us clearly its approach to dealing with these problems, give us a particular timeline, and tell us how it intends to do it. The other thing that I think is also important now that we're talking freely here is that there's also the risk of what might be described as cognitive dissonance. People believe when we are in the same place, the same mindset, you're essentially drinking from your own Kool-Aid. So when government people talk to each other, they're bouncing the same set of ideas. There's an opportunity now to reach out beyond that fence, civil society, and by extension all the groups represented here, to make an attempt and making sure that civil society groups, and there's a huge body of intellectual capital reported in civil society groups, become part of the policy-making processes, at least in an advisory capacity, so that when you formulate your policy, you already have the benefits of an instant feedback loop. As it is now, we just know it's good, it's well intended. There has to be a systemic way in which, if, as the Honorable Minister has said, you want to keep the conversations going, the conversations should not just be, periodic meetings in which we're talking at each other, or talking with each other. In advance of that, there has to be a systemic process whereby we can also help you design some of these policies, so that you understand it fully on both sides of the fence, both on the supply side and the demand side which we represent.
After you are aware that I told precisely what the government is intending to do in terms of this change. Remember, I confided with you that we are going to run a campaign, and that we believe that most of the work we have is that we need actual change. We must change the way we do things. Let me tell you, there are no new laws we want to make that have not been made, that are not of a static policy. The problem is the way we do things and the way we behave. And that is why we are launching a campaign that change begins with me. If every Nigerian changes the way he does things, it's not that change will come. There's nothing government can do about, say, the conductor or the taxi driver that takes Paraga first in the morning before he drives. There's nothing the government can do about the mole driver who decides to pick passengers anywhere, or even the man in the suit who does not care, who will tell the driver to go and take the rapid bus lane. Now, we believe that the biggest challenge to Nigerian people is our attitude, and it goes across. It is not restricted to the low class. The elite has a problem. Now, until and when each of us decide that we are going to do things differently, we should not change. We should expect any change in themselves. Yes, we are free, we are open to receive, input from not just the members of the society, but from everyone. We make it very open. And you see, when we say in government we talk about another, it's not true. I know that we have a vice president whose family as committed as any of us when it comes to the issue of program. We have been acknowledging that Dr. Fayemi, who has built also a career out of society. So please, you need to watch the changes in the meetings we have between colleagues. We are being more critical than you could ever imagine. Because some of us also come from, when you come from a background of opposition to government, we are being much more acutely aware of what people out there will be saying about it. In fact, our mantra is that for every decision we make, for everything we say, we must expect an opposite reaction. So, please, with our change mantra is not just the bonus. We are focused, we are going to run a campaign. We would give you a sneak preview, if necessary, so that we can take everybody on board. But believe me, we are serious about it, and it's not just, it's not good. At the same time, we also believe that no good advert can set a bad product. And until we take care of the physical policies of the government, until we arrest the drift in government, until we are able to improve infrastructure, until we are able to provide, jobs, there's no change out there that want to preach that people will believe. So it is a combination of both. On the one hand, we would want to change the way people do things. On the other hand, the government also would look at the hard issues of governance. One, how to balance your budget. How do you ensure that your debt to expenditure rate is something that is acceptable? How do you ensure that, unlike 2014, when there was only 556 billion spent on capital projects out of about more than 3 trillion, and you balance it? How do you correct the situation whereby last year 18 billion naira was voted for roads, out of which only 14 billion was released? How do you ensure that even those you are going to borrow, they look at your body and they do not say these people are not serious? Because nobody is going to give you money. They are going to borrow money for the current expedition. So probably much more likely borrow you money if it's going to be for infrastructure. Then how do you handle your debt stock? When you say that Nigeria has a debt stock, you say X amount of money. They don't money just borrowed in between 1999 and today. It's the aggregate of money you borrowed in 1960, which have not paid. And I listened to this to clear. One of the problems we are battling with is that when Nigeria was earning $104 per barrel, what happened? For every $100 we had, we were spending $20. Therefore, incurring a deficit of $180. But governance is a continuum. You inherit liabilities and also inherit assets. That was one of the excuses, but we are grappling with the challenges. But I am very confident because I know the efforts the government is putting. And believe me, in a couple of very shortly, we are going to see improvement in infrastructure, in power, in rail, in roads, and we're going to see massive intervention in the social sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And the issues I want to raise before you is assuming some of these issues we raised on population growth, who implement it today. There are a group of Nigerians that will hardly benefit from it. And this group of Nigerians are Nigerians with disabilities. Statistics show that more than 19 million Nigerians are living with disability. And the more the bomb drops in Northeast, the more we generate more people with disabilities. Regrettably, conversations from the state actors hardly the number of Nigerians who have suffered disability as a result of the surgeries. What I mean is that as this budget is being generated, there may be minimal provisions that will address their issues. Sir, even as we're having this conversation, if NTA don't air it today, many Nigerians will not hear it by reason of disability. I'm talking about the dead. Therefore, sir, I'm requesting you, now that we are here, to implement without delay the sign language interpreter on our national televisions, the NTA particularly. Sir, it's doable. We are doing it in Lagos State. The only people that will understand this meeting are Lagosians who are deaf, because there is sign language interpreter on Lagos television. I also hear you say infrastructure, we are going to focus on it. It might be interesting to know that virtually all the infrastructure provided in this country since 1960 are accessible to people with disabilities, including the Federal Ministry of Information. So we will do a research on this issue and we want to send you the reports so that you can even have further details. So this can be made easier if you fulfill your campaign promise. That is the passage or the signing into law of Nigerian Disability Bill. So if you sign it into law, we will stop minimally. You promise this, that within the 100 days in office, we will get some of these things. I will encourage you to look at where to search for the bill, where it is with the Attorney General of the Federation, search it where it is with the state, the Attorney of the State, so as to assent to it. If you assent to it, sir, what that means is that all these measures you are going to put in place, people with disabilities will benefit from it. What it means is that the burden of living with disability will reduce by at least 50%. That is to say, families of these individuals like me who are living with disability will not stop much more. Thank you.
I've been responding to Mr. Ladna. The minister said he had confided in Mr. Ladna about some of the policies of this current administration. My approach now will become, he is Minister of Information and Communication. Well, information, let me put it that way.
Information and culture.
And culture. Where is tourism?
In culture.
Oh, in culture, thank you. Okay. So I'm coming from the perspective of information. So what I think Mr. Ladna was really alluding to is that Nigerians need the ministry to communicate, and this administration to communicate with it directly. Not in confidence, but take Nigerians into confidence into what this administration is planning to do. Because really it seems, people complain about this. It seems Mr. President speaks a lot to foreign journalists and speaks a lot more outside the country than he speaks in the country and to local journalists. And I think that's also part of the issue of not understanding where this administration is going. In the previous administration, we had Mr. Labramaku, Mr. Abati, and Mr. Okupe. In this administration, we have the Honorable Minister, Gabriel Shehu and Meme Adeshina. And I'd like to implore the Minister to find a way to coordinate communication with these people. There's a lot of, I think on social media where Mr. Shehu and Mr. Adeshina communicate, there seems sometimes to be contradictory statements, or both of them releasing the same pieces of information from different angles. But it would really do well for Nigerians if there's some coordination about how information is passed on from this administration to the Nigerian public. Secondly, I'd like to encourage the Minister, I know you were in Lagos, I think last week, meeting with bloggers, to use social media. Governments all over the world, especially in African countries, are extremely afraid of social media. It's a powerful tool that can be leveraged and used for your own perspective. Not something you should react to, but something you should actively be sort of used proactively. Also, the ministry's website, it's a bit updated, but also outdated in some areas, so that should be a first port of information for Nigerians to be able to get information about this administration. Tied to that is also encouraging the ministry to control the narrative around new used in Nigeria. We find over the last 6 months that this administration has responded, it's been more defensive. So Premium Times will release something, the administration will have to respond. Sahara Reporters will issue something, the administration will respond. The administration should be the one sharing the information, not having to say, oh no, release a press release to counter what has been shared. And the tactics, or not tactics, a really particular area of concern for me and those in the Bring Back Our Girls movement is regarding the insurgency, the Chibok girls, abducted Nigerians. What is happening? Information needs to be proactive. Recently we had the issue with the members of the armed forces. First they were missing, then they weren't missing, then they were dead. And the army and Premium Times going back and forth on the facts of the matter. Tied to the insurgency is also the issue of the North Central, which this administration has been very quiet about. We're calling it a slow burn, and we shouldn't wait till it explodes. Nigerians know what is happening in that area. And tied to that is also this issue of Nigerian lives having value. So from the army, from wherever, a number of Nigerians dead. I mean, Mr. Nene refers to it from the position of disability, but also just in terms of numbers. Okay, 300 people were arrested. Who are they? Where are they from? They're human beings. They're from areas the family members don't know who they are or where they've been kept. And lastly, the issue of data privacy. Nigeria, the 6 agencies in Nigeria that collect data on Nigerians are included by Metro. Voters card, driver's license, international passport, BVN, SIM registration, and national identity. All those 6 pieces of information are on different databases run by different agencies. And Nigeria, as of today, does not have a data privacy act. So the data gets stolen, and we've seen that, I think it was from SIM registration, some of the laptops that were sold in Computer Village, they were people's data were on those laptops. What is the policy? Well, Nigeria doesn't have a policy on data privacy, but we're collecting data, and that really needs to be addressed urgently. Thank you.
Raise 2 issues. On one, over the last few years, there have been various efforts at altering the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to address certain challenges. Some of these efforts, nobody knows the outcome of these efforts. For instance, the fourth alteration to the Constitution, nobody knows the fate of the fourth alteration. I believe that one of the things that this regime needs to do is to gather some of these efforts. Look at the areas where there has been a consensus in terms of constitutional operation and proceed with those areas where we have consensus, and then maybe deeper work in relation to the areas where there is no consensus. But ultimately, I think that one of the biggest problems we have is that anytime we have constitutional challenges, we believe that rather than address or face those constitutional challenges, we should run and amend the Constitution to deal with the issue. I believe that there is nowhere in the world where all the problems of a country are written into the Constitution. So one of the things we need to do is to have faith in our democracy empowering institutions. The courts are there. The Supreme Court, for instance, is the ultimate constitutional court. So I think that we must find ways and means of having faith in our institutions and allowing them to deliver on their on issues we have entrusted to them. The second issue I want to raise is that I think that this regime has a responsibility to assist the Independent National Electoral Commission to return to its core mandate. The core mandate of the Independent National Electoral Commission is to conduct, organize and supervise elections. I think that we should assist INEC to shape weight. I do not see why we should entrust the responsibility of chasing loud-mouthed aspirants and candidates. Entrust INEC with the responsibility of chasing them. I think that the responsibility of dealing with issues around hate speech and so on and so forth should go to a different agency, like the National Human Rights Commission. I also believe that the issue of conducting civic and voter education and the impacting knowledge of sound democratic principles should not be the responsibility of the Independent National Electoral Commission. If INEC will go to a constituency, tell people about the logo of the APC or about the logo of the PDP and so on and so forth, what are the political parties doing? What is the National Orientation Agency doing? What is the Ministries of Information doing? I think that such responsibility should be taken away from INEC and given to agencies that have specialization in them. The last one has to do with the prosecution of electoral offenders. There is no how you can allow INEC to handle the prosecution of electoral offenders when some of the offenders reside within the institution itself. So I think that we must complete the process of putting together an electoral offences commission to deal with some of these myriad problems associated with electoral offences. If we remove the issue of civic and voter education from INEC, remove the issue of pursuing people who engage in hate and vile language, and remove the issue of prosecution of electoral offences, you now allow them to concentrate on their core mandate, and I think they can deliver on their core mandate. INEC says we don't have the capacity, we don't have the resources to prosecute the electoral offenders, and we are insisting that they must remain with it, and they have not done it well. So I think that some of the unfinished constitutional and legal reform issues should be concluded by this particular regime and on time, so that by the time we get to 2019, we'll be talking of having very clean elections and not a situation where we will leave the issue of constitutional operation, electoral form of operation to 3 months to an election, and then at the end of the day, it dies with the regime that initiated it. So I think that we must find ways and means of completing some of these things in order for us to have very clean elections and also in order for our democracy to grow. Thank you very much.
Probably look at some of the reports of the last in various constitutional amendments that I see those that are based on potential stories guided and agreed with I think it's a good solution. Yes, I agree with you that we will not often explore the maximum of solutions. I was engaged in discussion yesterday about warrant of arrest and on the one side, we said yes, we don't need to be speaker of the House of Reps or the State President the powers to issue warrant of arrest. But then the court also can look at is it issued in good faith or not. So I believe not every time I have a problem with constitutional amendment that we should, constitutional problem that we should look for amendment of the Constitution. Constitutions, until they are interpreted by the court, we really do not know where they sit. And I think the most recent example is the Kogi. What happened in Kogi? For instance, in that instance, there are a lot of I think it's just a challenge that we want to allow the courts to help us. The one was, when is an election conclusive? What is not conclusive? What happens if, when the candidate dies after the elections, before the elections, before the results? We never contemplated what's going to happen. That happened, and I think the best thing to do might be probably to go to court and see their interpretation. This is all record that I'm not going against my party's position. But then, this is where I feel that there is a need of social media. Unfortunately, all record, I don't think it's what still represents how powerful. I just want to remind our Honorable Minister of Information that we are 6 months into the new administration, and I remember that very hard word that the Honorable Minister said when we were having a conversation around oil and gas restructuring. To say that we are looking and monitoring that we are looking in the next 6 months for the oil and gas to be restructured. And
I want to go on the information sharing, which I think Debbie actually spoke on my when she mentioned the issue of updating of websites of most ministries. My experience yesterday was that I tried to access information on the website of the Ministry of Agriculture, and the thing wasn't accessible. Website of the Ministry of Agriculture. And the platform wasn't accessible because I just want to do this research today initiative and another initiative of the Ministry of Agriculture to have an understanding of what the impact of the programs are. But also fundamentally that we see in the news a lot of programs being put forward by the present administration. But unfortunately, you go to the website of these ministries, you only see the news link that you read in newspapers, but not the comprehensive note on that particular program, which I think doesn't really do justice to the initiative of such initiatives. And I'm particularly concerned about this because the other minister, when he was delivering his notes, he emphasized the importance of CSOs and in partnering and working with the government in order to bring about the change. But fundamentally, the civil society cannot work without having access to information. And for us to have internet access to information, we also need to look at the reliability of such information. And the only place to get the information is actually the ministry website, which I think needs to be updated. And I want to talk about the issue of corruption, the fight for this corruption president, which I think a lot of people are more enthusiastic about. The present administration for me on the fight against corruption. But my concern about that is institutionalizing such fight. It's very good because, for example, we know that there's a need for EFCC and other anti-graft agencies to ascertain independence at the level of the nation, at the level of opinion of office, and also at the level of prosecutorial level, which I think the present administration has not yet reiterated the commitment in ensuring that these anti-graft agencies are independent at those levels. Well, to the last time we've not really seen anything on effort being made by the present administration to ensure that such independence is being made, because we go a long way in institutionalizing such practices. Because, today, for higher administration, will be committed to the fight. But what about when they end? We have to have an institution. I'm interested, I think I can support that. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister has a very proud background in civil society. But I just want to sound some note of caution that civil society did not sign any agreement with DPC. We did not have any agreement with DPC that will not criticize them. We had the victory of APC is a shared victory because at that point in time we were in opposition, and most of what we presented at that time was part of what civil society was seriously interested in. And so now you are government, and if you are government, our responsibility is to hold you accountable. Many people will not understand that shit. That's why I'm putting it like that. Our convener just sounded that note succinctly, that we have a responsibility to hold you accountable. And there are not many of you who have the civil society background in government. So you can be overwhelmed. Those of you who have civil society background can be overwhelmed by some of your colleagues who think that they will only pander to capital. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that in 2010 we jumped out on the street to support the of the former president at that time. They took it for granted and felt that that relationship was a settled matter. They felt it was a settled matter because we marched to ensure that President Goodluck Jonathan emerged as president there. Let APC not take this relationship for granted. And it's important that this note of warning is sounded. You have very limited opportunity of ensuring that those things that our convener gave to you are implemented. If they are not implemented within a reasonable period of time, this marriage will be severe, and it will be such that many people will never believe that we have ever at any point in time had any marriage.
I want to thank the Honorable Minister and the Ministry for the opportunity to come and have one-on-one and open talks with the Humble Self. The change agenda, like you rightly said, is for all of us, and it has to start with us as a citizen, as part of our civic responsibility. But I feel there's need for your Ministry of the Government to have a design campaign. For instance, take the war against indiscipline. It succeeded because citizens were involved and they have the bargain and ownership. And I think that is why during Abuja they launched the war against indiscipline and corruption campaign. And since one of the national focus of this government is corruption, fighting corruption and other indiscipline, and I think there's need for your ministry to look at possible way of relaunching war against indiscipline so that you have citizen buy-in. That other debate that we don't have the time. The indiscipline is all over the country, everywhere. It is all this corruption, corrupt practice, whatever, are part of indiscipline. Now relaunching the campaign for the citizen buy-in, is very, very important. Time has passed. One government policy and agenda should be only meant for government to execute and implement. There's need for citizens to come and buy in and do their best and see that to the success of the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Earlier
on, my sister talked a little about the issue of security, especially in the Northeast, and I think I'm the only person from the Northeast here, so it is something that really is in my heart. Sir, we look at all that has been coming out mainly as a form of information and action with regards to the issue of insecurity in the country, especially in the Northeast. A lot of emphasis is on the issue of Boko Haram. But we're forgetting other issues also, especially cattle, Fulani herdsmen. Just 2 days ago, they entered a village in Gombe and burned houses and killed people. Now, these are people whose cattle routes are no longer there, whose grazing grounds are no longer there, due to no fault of theirs. Right from the colonial times, there were cattle routes, there were grazing grounds. Now they've all been sold to big people as farmland and other things. So they don't have anywhere, and so sometimes in trying to move, they have to pass through villages and a lot of things happen. So I think there's a need not just to concentrate on the issue of Boko Haram in the north, but also to look at the havoc that is being wreaked by the Fulani herdsmen. Secondly, borders are also causing problems for us, security issues. We have a lot of clashes going on because our borders are not properly, especially local government borders, are not properly demarcated. So you have communities clashing over farmland and all that. I think these are issues that have to be looked at because the Boko Haram issue is the biggest, yes, but these others are also causing a lot of havoc, a lot of properties and lives are being destroyed. Thank you very much.
Various issues, facing us, such as the cattle rustling. I don't think the government is also following the plan. And I think that these 7 states, Kaduna, Kebbi, Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, some that are happening, those are actually working on this cattle rustling. And I think in the last couple of months, including Kaduna, was more than 4,000 cattle have been recovered and given back. Yes, we appreciate that as a position to work on. And the issue of borders and boundaries, again, I think it's some of the political lines of the country. We look into it. Yes, I was really called you here to appeal to you. Not to criticize us. We called you here to assure that we continue to engage with you. We called you here to tell you that we will always use you as the barometer to gauge what people are thinking about us. So we also take it back to government and the better. But frankly speaking, we know that our marriage is not Christian Catholic. Only very strong thing, except that for a moment there was a community of interest between us. When I say we are batting from the same side of the pitch, it's because I still believe that we still have the same shared values, and that we will not disappoint not just you, or won't disappoint the Nigerians. But clearly, for any government to expect that you will criticize, that government is not serious. But we believe that you will take up places in good faith. Today spoke about reform in the oil and gas sector. I think it's all going ready. The reform in the oil and gas is all going ready. But we were just unlucky that anytime the Ghana has determined leadership, the economy is also conspiring against us. I can imagine more than just less than about 18 months ago, all of them was $104. Yes, it was set as $38. And that is quite a drop. Yeah, we will continue with the oil and gas industry, and it's not going to finish overnight, but to continue. Promising that transparency now, oil and gas sector. Mohammed spoke about the war against discipline. I think our campaign is going to see encompass it. It's a discipline to wake up in the morning and take alcohol before you go to drive. It's a discipline to drop passengers, along with that. So I agree with you. Discipline is impurity, but we are going to approach people to this campaign to be more disciplined in their day-to-day activities.
Honorable Minister, on my mind is the Northeast, the killings. As somebody who lives in the Niger Delta and went through the process of agitation, saw it happen. The killings in the Northeast is alarming. The President has said a December deadline. And we are all agreed, I think, that gun, bullet alone, cannot solve that problem. My suggestion is that the Ministry of Information, under your leadership, should take the issue of the radicalization of ordinary people in the Northeast. While the bullet is booming, we need to get our people back. Because what seems to be happening is that there is buying into the process as a result of long years of bad governance. Ordinary people, young people seem to get their bread and butter. Because those who do suicide bombing don't do it for free. Those who join Boko Haram on a daily basis do not do it for free. They see it as a means of livelihood, even at the end of their life. So I think that there is need, and this is also a possible area you can work with civil society, because they have data, they have people who are in the field that can go in, even in the camps, to begin to reorientate our young people, those who are there, to begin to know the danger of Boko Haram. Yes, we could say ISIS and Al-Qaeda are behind these activities. But we also have people who sponsor the process. Let us get our people back through information escalation in this area. And it's not just using jingles on NTA. A lot of people don't have access to NTA, they don't have access to television. You need
people who will hit the ground running in most of this area. Secondly, the mantra of this administration is, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. There is also something else we must kill. But before then, I want to, like this said, sound a note of warning, or caution of warning, that this government must not, for any reason, give anybody that has corruption charges on their head, no matter their level in society, any soft landing, because that will be the end of this administration. Number two is that the other thing you have to kill if corruption must die is impunity. Yesterday, across Port Harcourt, Rivers State, we saw people who wore black. They wore black. They were mourning those who were killed because they wanted to exercise their franchise. People who wanted to participate in an electoral process were just murdered. In the past, nobody bothered about it. There has not been any prosecution, and that is why this thing is continuing. There are reports all over the place. We want this government to look into those reports and ensure that those who perpetrate impunity, those who kill for power, does not benefit from it. And that those who also kill are fished out and prosecuted under the law. Thank you very much.
I just want to talk about two big things. One is the fact that what are Nigerians worried about and what is it they want to hear. To remind us that this administration has done 1/8 of its tenure already. And we also know that the last year is really given to politicking. So effectively we have like 5/8 left. And so the question is, what really changed apart from the change of government? Sir? Oh. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. That's what I said. All right, sir. Good, good. At the point I was doubting myself. All right, sir. So the question is, what really has changed? And one of the pointers out there on the street is that we still have fuel queues. So the question is, what really has changed? Nigerians really want to know why we still have this situation and what needs to be done that this will not be recurring in the tenure of this administration. And then the other point is, we've talked a lot about safety. In all the instances, we've talked about the Northeast, we've talked about the Middle Belt, we've talked about the South, all these areas. But I also want to mention that even within those areas, there are some persons who are more vulnerable that need to be taken care of more particularly, and that is women and girls. My organization is involved in what we call the Safe City campaign. And one of the areas we're looking at is that in institutions, in schools, institutions of learning in this country, they are not safe for women and girls. And that will have impact on the quality of leadership we have in the future. Because it means that a lot of the women, young girls, cannot effectively stay through education in these places. And so we've actually done studies in some universities and found out that one of the people who suffer most are the girls. So for instance, how can we have universities that don't have accommodation on campus? And so people have to compete between all campus to the university, and within that space, it is not safe. So this is one area we think the government needs to look at also. Thanks, sir.
Sir, quick one, the data available on the UNICEF website. The data available on UNICEF website is that more than 24% of our children are underweight. So we're talking about hunger, and it's good they are coming with the school feeding program, which will be key. But to do that and to keep with the unemployment rate, which is our #1 issue in this nation, is the need to do serious investment in agriculture. Serious investment beyond the propaganda investment that has been done in the past, such that the youth will produce the food
that we will use to feed the children in the school feeding program. My strong suggestion is that we should never import anything to feed those kids. We must produce what we will use to do that school feeding program, which is crucial. Because it is my view that some of the poor governance we are getting is as a result of the poor mental development of the adults, as a result of malnutrition when they were children. So for us to control corruption in the school job, we need to feed the kids well, and we'll support you with that. And then to do that well, because of the configuration of the country in terms of access to land, the people that have access to land are not deploying into agriculture. And I want to suggest to the government that we took the model from Brazil, where the government will tax any land, any usable agricultural land that is live farm. The owner of that land will be forced to pay tax for the period that it is farming. What this will do is that those who have cornered all the land and have access to them will plead with those who can farm to come and use the land to farm. That way, if you don't want to pay that tax, move your land to those who can farm. You see that will lead to a revolution where those that have the land will plead for the others to take the land. And finally, unfortunately, this government has a very low performance in terms of appointment of women at the moment. And the gender gap is quite huge. Unfortunately, the election didn't do well because the time elected do well in terms of elected position. The terms of appointed position is also really bad. What I want to know is what program do your government have in place to close this gender gap as rapidly as possible? Thank you.
My own is more of a contribution than a question, and I'll be looking at one of the campaign promise of this administration, which is to be giving 5,000 naira stipend to unemployed graduates. Just this morning, listening to the news, and the National Directorate of Employment said that they started capturing data of unemployed graduates. Now, if you look at the rate of unemployment in Nigeria, it runs into millions. For an organization that focuses on developing the entrepreneurship potentials of individuals, we find it funny that the federal government wants to start giving people money on a monthly basis. If you multiply the 5,000 naira times the millions of Nigerians that are unemployed, it runs into billions. And these billions is enough to build refinery every 6 months in all the geopolitical zones that we have. India, for instance, used about $5.2 billion to build a refinery that they are going to commission in less than 6 months. This $5.2 billion is not up to what people are laundering and stealing in this country. So I seriously suggest that this government should look at channeling this money to creating employment instead of giving people this money on a monthly basis, because dashing them that money is prolonging their poverty and killing their intellectual capacity. When these refineries are built all over the country, it will help in absorbing this unemployed graduates in droves, producing this oil that you are paying up to buy now, and creating other ancillary jobs that is advised to it. So I hope that you pass this message to the administration that they should reconsider it, as giving 5,000 naira is prolonging the suffering of Nigerian graduates and not helping them. Thank you.
My fellow colleague here has started saying my mind, but it was not to the conclusion. First of all, by appreciating one achievement by this government, particularly to my state. I think since the new government has in office, in Kebbi in particular, I know we have 24 hours lights now. That is just one recommendation and effort to government. I'm going back to my question concerning the 5,000 naira for unemployed youth. My colleague talked about the unemployed graduates. Now my question to you, Honorable Minister, has the government defined who are the unemployed youth? 2,
the government is thinking of giving 25 million youth, unemployed youth, 5,000 naira per month. Sound right? Are the unemployed youth not more than 25 million in this country? 3. What is the sustainability plan for this 5,000 naira monthly? Then 4. What is the medium of disposing this 5,000 naira to this youth? Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Just make a very, very quick intervention.
We appreciate that the Honorable Minister will be conveying our position to His Excellency the President and the Vice President. As you know, the Vice President is also our colleague and friend. And we are asking, as his question, to have the opportunity of an interaction with the President at his pleasure. So we really would appreciate this is conveyed and the situation we would like to be with the President as quickly as is possible, but also at his pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Mr. Mohammed question is I would personally say to the BPI President, because I think it's good for us, it's good for bonding, and I think it's a very good move, and we are going to benefit more from it than you. And I think the job of the commission, I will thank you for once again, I need to thank everybody for the very very kind contribution. I hope
of the national pledge. So you will all recite to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, and uphold her honor and glory, so help me God. Thank you very much once more. Please let's go for the